What's up, guys? Holy cow, Nike stock is through the roof, up almost 14% after hours. Right before market close, it was at about 132 and it's jumped almost $20 to 152. So Nike just blew away analyst estimate with their fiscal 21 Q4 earnings report. Analysts estimated EPS of about 51 cents a share and Nike reported 93 cents per share. So analysts estimated revenues of about 11 billion flat and Nike reported 12.3 billion, almost 12% higher. So Nike's digital sales were up 41% 1 year ago and up 147% versus 2019. And then they're saying they saw another boost in their wholesale business, a section of the business that was apparently a little bit slow during COVID. And then Nike is giving better than expected sales guidance for fiscal 22, primarily driven by their optimism in the women's category, apparel, and their Jordan brand. So we're also seeing a trend where people not only are enjoying Nike's apparel for obviously exercise and workouts, but also just in a casual setting to wear around the house. So Nike is really benefiting from this cultural trend. So Nike did report net income of 1.5 billion in Q4 versus a loss of 800 million same quarter last year. And then their sales guidance for fiscal 2022 is around 50 billion versus analyst estimates of 48.5 billion, so a little bit higher. So let's take a closer look at their numbers. Just a quick disclaimer, info in this video is not advice and is for entertainment purposes only. So looking at the quarter, they reported 12.3 billion in sales, which was a 96% increase of over 6.3 billion reported in Q4 of last year. And then their net income, like we said, they reported 1.5 billion versus a loss of 800 million Q4 of fiscal 2020. And then their earnings per share were 96 cents per share versus a loss of 51 cents per share fourth quarter of last year. And then looking on an annual basis, Nike reported fiscal 2021 revenues of 44.5 billion versus 37.4 billion in fiscal 2020, so an increase of about 19%. And then on an annual basis, they reported earnings of 5.7 billion versus 2.5 billion the fiscal year ending 2020, so increase of an impressive 126%. And then on an annual basis, their earnings per share were $3.64, which were almost double of the EPS of fiscal 2020 of $1.63. So 123% increase in the annual EPS from 2020 to 2021. And then let's look at their sales for the quarter by region. It looks like in North America, they reported 5.4 billion in sales versus 2.2 billion fourth quarter last year, which was an impressive increase of 141%. Europe, Middle East, and Africa looks like 3 billion versus 1.3 billion same quarter last year. Pretty impressive increase again there of 124%. China looks like they reported 1.9 billion versus 1.6 billion, increase of 17%. And then Asia, Pacific, and Latin America looks like they reported a little under 1.5 billion, which was 82% higher than their revenues of 800 million Q4 last year. So all in all, Nike brand reported 11.8 billion versus 6 billion Q4 last year, which was a 96% increase. And it looks like their revenue increase was about the same for Converse. They reported 600 million versus 300 million Q4 last year, so almost double. Pretty impressive. So all in all, total Nike revenues 12.3 billion, 96% increase over 6.3 billion. So Q4 of fiscal 21, 96% increase over Q4 of fiscal 20. And then looking by their product categories here, looks like in Q4 they reported roughly 8 billion in footwear versus 4.2 billion Q4 last year, 89% increase. Apparel 3.4 billion versus 1.6 billion fourth quarter last year, 110% increase. Nike equipment, 368 million versus 165 million Q4 last year, 123% increase. So pretty impressive numbers here, Q4 this year versus Q4 last year. And then looking at the annual basis, and I personally like this view a little bit more because, as you guys know, because of COVID, it impacted a lot of retailers. So just looking at that 12-month view, comparing the 12 months ending May 31st, 2020 to May 31st, 2021, it gives you a little bit of better view, since that impact of COVID is kind of blended and kind of mixed in between the 2 years. So for North America, for looking at the annual basis, Nike reported 17.2 billion versus 14.5 billion last year, increase of 19%. Looks like for Europe, Middle East, and Africa on an annual basis, 23% increase. For China, 24%. Asia, Pacific, and Latin America looks like a 6% increase. And then total Nike brand, 19% increase on an annual basis. And then Converse, they're exactly the same in terms of percentage. They went from 1.8 billion in sales in 2020 to 2.2 billion, 19%. And then, of course, overall Nike revenues, 44.5 billion in 2021 versus 37.4 billion in 2020. Impressive increase of 19%. And then looking by product category on an annual basis, looks like in footwear, they closed the year at 28 billion versus 23 billion last year, increase of 20%. Apparel, 12.9 billion versus 10.9 billion last year, increase of 17%. Equipment, 1.4 billion versus 1.3, so slight increase there of 8%. And then total Nike brand revenues, 42.3 billion versus 35.5, an increase of 19%. Pretty impressive increase in revenue on an annual basis. All in all, pretty impressive Q4 fiscal 21 results by Nike. If you're a Nike investor already, I'm sure you're pretty happy with the huge jump in the stock today. If you're not, best of luck if you do decide to take a position. Hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget, guys, if you plant your seeds now, you can really build your wealth over time. See you next time.